My sister made a $2.5 million mistake. She input the wrong fund code into a high-stakes investment deal. When the losses hit, she cried. Real tears. Mascara running down her cheeks like black rain. She showed up at my apartment at 11:30 p.m., hair disheveled, still in her work clothes. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Please, Amelia," she said, gripping my hands. "If this lands on me, I'll lose my license. Everything I've worked for. Gone." I made her tea. Chamomile. Her favorite since we were kids. "Just take the heat," she whispered. "Just until things cool down. A few weeks, maybe a month. I'll fix it. I promise." I said yes. Because I'm her older sister. Because I believed that blood still meant something. Because when we were 7 and 9, I promised Mom I'd always protect her. I remember that promise, clear as yesterday. Claire had broken Mom's favorite vase, the crystal one from Grandma's wedding. She was spinning around the living room in her tutu, pretending to be a ballerina. Her elbow caught the edge of the coffee table. The crash was spectacular. Crystal shards everywhere, like diamonds scattered across the hardwood floor. Claire froze, eyes wide, bottom lip trembling. "Mommy's gonna be so mad," she whispered. I was 9. She was 7, old enough to know better, but not old enough to handle the consequences. "Don't worry," I said. "I'll tell her I did it." "But you didn't." "I know, but I can handle being in trouble better than you can." And I did. Took the punishment. 2 weeks of no TV, extra chores, a lecture about being more careful. Claire never thanked me. She just smiled and went back to dancing. But that night, Mom came to my room, sat on the edge of my bed. "You know," she said, "taking care of your little sister is a big responsibility, but I'm proud of you for looking out for her." "I'll always protect her," I said. "I know you will, sweetheart. That's what big sisters do." From Claire's perspective, that day was different. She'd tell it differently now, I'm sure. She'd say I was controlling, that I made her feel helpless, that I always had to be the hero. She'd say I enjoyed being the good daughter, the responsible one, the one who fixed things. She'd say I made her feel small, but she wouldn't mention the other times. The dozens of other times. When she was 12 and got caught shoplifting lip gloss from the drugstore, I convinced the manager it was a misunderstanding. Paid for it with my babysitting money. Walked her home while she cried. When she was 15 and crashed Dad's car into the neighbor's mailbox, I helped her move it back into place. Spent my weekend job money on touch-up paint. Told Dad I'd borrowed the car to go to the library. When she was 17 and got suspended for cheating on her SATs, I tutored her for the retake. Every night for 6 weeks. Gave up my own college application time to help her practice. She passed. Got into state university. Dad was so proud. "Claire's really turned things around," he said at dinner. "She's becoming so responsible." Claire smiled. Accepted the praise. Never mentioned the tutoring, the late nights, the practice tests. From her perspective, she'd earned it. She'd worked hard. She'd succeeded. I was just there, background noise, a supporting character in her story. But I kept protecting her, even in college, even after. When she was 22 and her first boss tried to fire her for consistently showing up late, I coached her through an improvement plan. Taught her time management, helped her draft apology emails. When she was 25 and her engagement fell apart because she'd been cheating, I let her sleep on my couch for 3 months, listened to her cry every night, convinced her she deserved better. When she was 28 and couldn't afford her mortgage payment, I co-signed a loan, put my own credit on the line, helped her negotiate with the bank. Each time she'd say the same thing, "I don't know what I'd do without you," but she'd never say it in front of anyone else. In public, she was independent, self-sufficient, successful. I was just her overprotective older sister, the one who worried too much. From Claire's perspective, I was suffocating. Always hovering. Always ready to swoop in and save the day. She wanted to stand on her own, prove herself, show the world she didn't need rescuing. But she kept getting into situations where she needed rescuing. And I kept rescuing her. Until the Patterson Fund. At the review meeting, I took responsibility. Sat in that conference room with 12 executives staring at me like I was a criminal. The mahogany table stretched between us like a courtroom bench. The error was mine, I said. Complete oversight on my part. They told me I'd be put on administrative leave. Pending investigation. 2 weeks later, they walked me out of the building with a cardboard box. Security escort and everything. And her, she got promoted. Senior Vice President of Strategic Investments, corner office, secretary, company car. 3 days after I was fired, she threw a rooftop party. Not just any party. A celebration, champagne, string lights zigzagging across the terrace like golden constellations. A banner that said, "Cheers to integrity and grit." I wasn't invited. But I heard about it. From LinkedIn, from Instagram, from mutual friends who thought I'd want to know. Someone asked about me at the party. A colleague from our old department. Claire smiled that perfect smile she'd practiced in our bathroom mirror since high school. I tried to stop her, she said, shaking her head sadly. But Amelia was reckless. She just pushed too hard, took shortcuts. I warned her, but she wouldn't listen. That was her version of love. Quiet betrayal in a silk dress. But it got worse. She used my old client presentation. The one I'd spent 3 months perfecting. My layout. My language. My research. She rebranded it with her name and presented it to the board as her strategic vision for the next fiscal year. They loved it. Called it innovative. Revolutionary. They gave her a 15% raise. When Mom and Dad asked what happened at Sunday dinner, Claire looked down at her plate. Voice soft. Wounded. She was never a team player, she said. Always had to be the star. I think the pressure finally got to her. Mom reached across the table, squeezed Claire's hand. "We're proud of you, sweetheart, for doing the right thing." I watched from the kitchen doorway. Invisible, erased, but I heard something else in her voice. Something familiar. The same tone she'd used when she was 16. "Amelia's always been jealous of me," she'd told her friends at my birthday party. "She can't stand that I'm prettier, that boys like me more." I was 18, she was 16, it was my birthday party, my friends, my cake. But somehow it became about her. The boys did gravitate toward her. She was bubbly, flirtatious, everything I wasn't. By the end of the night, half my guests had forgotten it was my party. From Claire's perspective, she was just being social, friendly. She couldn't help it if people liked her, but I saw the calculation in her eyes. The way she'd laugh just a little too loud when I was talking. The way she'd interrupt my stories with better ones. The way she'd make herself the center of attention, always. And now at Sunday dinner, she was doing it again. Making herself the victim, the hero, the star of the story, while I stood in the doorway, invisible, again. What Claire forgot was simple. I don't do blind loyalty, I do insurance. The night she cried in my apartment, the night she begged me to take the fall. My home security camera picked up everything. Audio crystal clear, HD video, cloud backup. "If I go down for this, I'll lose my license," she'd said. "Please, just for a few weeks. I'll fix it. I promise. You know I'm good for it." But there was more, so much more. She'd also said, "You're stronger than me, Amelia. You always were. You can survive this. I can't." And Besides, you don't have kids to think about, no mortgage, no real responsibilities. And the worst part, Mom and Dad will understand. They know you've always been the rebel, the risk-taker. This fits your narrative, my narrative, like my life was a story she could edit. I never planned to use it. I hoped I wouldn't have to. I kept the file in a folder labeled Insurance, right next to my tax documents and medical records, but I also kept digging, because that's what big sisters do. We investigate, we prepare, we protect, even when we should protect ourselves instead. The Patterson Fund wasn't Claire's first mistake. It was her third. I found emails, buried deep in the company server, mistakes she'd covered up, clients she'd lied to. Small things. A few thousand here. A decimal point there. She'd been building a house of cards for 18 months, and I'd been the foundation, just like when we were kids. When she'd break things and I'd take the blame. When she'd fail tests and I'd help her cheat. When she'd get into trouble and I'd get her out. The pattern was always the same. Claire creates the problem. Amelia fixes the problem. Claire gets the credit. Amelia gets forgotten. But this time was different. This time the stakes were too high. The fall was too far. The damage was too permanent. This time I couldn't just clean up the mess and move on. This time protecting her meant destroying myself. And for the first time in my life, I chose myself instead. But then I received a message from a former colleague. A screenshot of Claire's LinkedIn post. Sometimes doing the right thing means standing alone, even if it's your own sister on the wrong side of the line. Leadership isn't about popularity. It's about principle. 1,204 likes, 58 comments. Brave. Powerful. You inspire me. True leadership. Integrity in action. The comments were even worse. Claire Bennett is exactly the kind of leader we need in finance. Setting boundaries with family takes real courage. This is why I respect you so much. Family loyalty shouldn't come before professional ethics. And then the kicker, from our old college roommate. I always knew Amelia was the wild one. Remember that time she cheated on her economics final? Some people never change. I never cheated on anything. Ever. That was Claire. But she'd rewritten history. Again. I scrolled through more comments, each one a knife twist. Family enablement is toxic. Good for you for choosing accountability. Amelia sounds like she has narcissistic tendencies. Classic pattern. You're probably better off without that kind of negativity in your life. Strangers, colleagues, friends, all nodding along to Claire's version of reality. I stared at the screen for a long, long time. Then I opened my laptop, attached the video file. But not just the video. I attached everything. The emails about her previous mistakes. The cover-ups. The client complaints she'd buried. The falsified reports she'd submitted to avoid detection. I typed a brief message to the board of directors. I believe this documentation will clarify not only the recent events regarding the Patterson Fund incident, but also provide context for a pattern of behavior that has been ongoing for the past 18 months. And pressed send. The board received the file at 7:04 a.m. on a Tuesday. By 8:10, Claire's phone was blowing up. I know because she called me 7 times in a row. Each call lasting exactly 15 seconds before going to voicemail. No answer. She texted, Amelia, what the hell did you do? Then, you're ruining everything. Then, please, we can talk about this. Then, I'm your sister. Then, the Patterson thing was an accident. You know that. Then, why are you doing this to me? Then, I'll tell Mom and Dad what you really did. Then, please, I'm begging you. I didn't reply. I was at a coffee shop, drinking a latte, reading the newspaper, like it was any other morning. By 10 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Bennett. A woman's voice, professional, clipped. This is Jessica Martinez from Hartwell and Associates. We received your resume last week. Are you available for an interview today? I hadn't sent them a resume. I'm sorry, I said. I think there's been a mistake. No mistake, she said. We've been following your work, particularly your risk management strategies. We'd like to discuss a position. Turns out when you take down a major financial firm, headhunters notice. By noon, Claire's access badge was deactivated. By 3 p.m., the firm issued a quiet internal memo. Effective immediately, Claire Bennett is no longer with the company. But they didn't stop there. The FBI opened an investigation. Securities fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. Claire's pattern of mistakes suddenly looked very different under federal scrutiny. No apology, no explanation, just erasure. The same thing she tried to do to me. Only this time I signed the memo, because what she didn't know was this. I used my severance payout to buy into a competitor firm. Hartwell and Associates, smaller, hungrier, more aggressive, and now I'm their lead strategic partner. The Patterson Fund mistake. Turns out it wasn't a mistake at all. It was a systematic issue with the firm's risk management software. Claire had reported it months earlier. Her emails were buried in compliance bureaucracy. She was actually the whistleblower, the one trying to fix the system, but she panicked when the losses hit. Threw me under the bus to save herself. The irony was delicious. When the truth came out, the original firm faced a class action lawsuit, regulatory investigation, federal audit. The whole house of cards came tumbling down. Meanwhile, Hartwell and Associates picked up their biggest clients, including the Patterson Fund. But Claire wasn't done yet. She hired a lawyer, threatened to sue me for defamation, claimed I'd destroyed her reputation with false accusations. The lawyer called me on a Thursday. Miss Bennett, he said. My client believes you may have acted maliciously in providing certain documentation to her former employer. Your client is welcome to that belief, I said. Are you willing to discuss a settlement? What kind of settlement? My client would like you to publicly retract your statements. Admit that the evidence was taken out of context. Perhaps issue a formal apology. I laughed, actually laughed. Tell your client I'll be happy to discuss this matter in court. Under oath. With all evidence presented publicly. He hung up. The lawsuit never materialized. 2 weeks later, Claire sent one final message. Why are you doing this to me? I typed, deleted, typed again. I'm not doing anything to you, I just stopped protecting you. Then I blocked her. On every channel, email, phone, social media. But I didn't block her professionally. See, Claire landed at a small boutique firm. Desperate. Willing to take a 60% pay cut. No benefits. No company car. No secretary. Sterling and Associates. 23 employees. Struggling to stay afloat after losing their biggest client to regulatory violations. And they needed strategic consulting. Guess who they called? But first they had to meet certain compliance requirements. Background checks, reference calls, due diligence. I may have mentioned to several colleagues that Claire Bennett was available for consultation. Talented, experienced, recently freed up from her previous position. I may have also mentioned that her experience with regulatory issues was extensive. First-hand knowledge. Very thorough. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. Conference room B. I arrived 5 minutes early. Hartwell and Associates was providing consulting services to help them restructure their investment portfolio. Claire walked in at exactly 10 a.m. Stopped dead when she saw me. Hello, Claire, I said. Please have a seat. She sat, hands folded, eyes down. I understand you need help with risk management, I said. That's actually my specialty now. The meeting lasted 2 hours. professional, cordial. I presented our services, our rates, our timeline. Claire said nothing, just nodded, took notes. At the end, I slid a contract across the table. Standard consulting agreement. I said, 6 months, renewable. She signed it. As she was leaving, she stopped at the door. Amelia, she said, I'm sorry. I looked up from my notes. For what? You know what? No, I don't. Could you be more specific? She stared at me. The Patterson Fund. Everything that happened. Oh, that, I said. That was just business. She left. I never saw her again. But every month her firm pays my invoices. On time, in full. And every month I get reports. Updates on their progress. Performance metrics. Staff evaluations. Claire's evaluation always lands on my desk. Part of the consulting agreement. I need to monitor key personnel performance to ensure compliance. She's doing well, adequate, keeping her head down, following protocol. But sometimes late at night I wonder if she remembers too. If she lies awake thinking about choices, about sisters, about the price of ambition. And sometimes I wonder if she knows that I kept one more recording from that Sunday dinner. When she told our parents I was never a team player, the one where she laughed, actually laughed, when Dad said he was worried about me. Don't be, she'd said. Amelia always lands on her feet. She's like a cat, 9 lives. Then she'd paused, smiled. Besides, maybe this will teach her some humility. I haven't decided what to do with that one yet. But I have time. All the time in the world. And Claire's contract comes up for renewal in 3 months.